Hello, and welcome to the Ideal Forever Partner Magnet Podcast, the show where we explore the infinite benefits of creating the relationship of a lifetime, attracting our ideal forever partner like a magnet, and living our best life as the highest and best version of ourselves. I'm your host, Arell Holloway. I'm the results coach, fitness expert, former real estate investor, and founder of UTAIY, Unveiling the Angel in You, and the World Impact Compound Movement. This podcast is for overachievers and romantics that never learned the art of love relationships. That was me. Anyone wanting to improve their relationships and receiving and having, as well as giving unconditional love. And the biggest impact I can make in someone's life is to teach them how to manifest their ideal forever partner. So with this podcast, I'm dedicating to help souls around the world wake up to who you really are and what you really want in life, helping you on your path of learning about unconditional love by creating significant epic relationships that generate happy memories. Last week, we went into detail about love languages. If your IPP has a secret language, wouldn't it be worth learning that? Is this secret language disclosed how your IFP understands and receives love? Then wouldn't it be an unfair advantage to learn their language? You also have a secret language. This is how you understand, interpret, and receive love. This is your key to happiness. Learn what you love, what your love language is, and everyone that you love. Learn what the love languages are for everyone in your life that you love. Speak to them in each of their love languages and watch your relationship thrive and expand to highest height. Truth is, everyone has their own love language. There are about 5 basic ones, plus there are about 3 or 4 others. And then the combination of these languages makes up your particular love language. Your parents and grandparents learned what your love language is, then they used it to give you happiness. Sometimes they might use it in an attempt to control you. So if that is your experience, then don't allow the beauty of our own love language to be clouded by this misuse of trust. Just forgive them and move on. The truth is they just did the best that they could at that time. There's no reason to make them bad or wrong. Just move on from there. They didn't have this information right here. You do. Separate these two because they don't belong together. Now you attach your love language to a new happy memory that allows you to love in this beautiful way. So if it was used in a way where you have a bad memory about it somehow, and now your love language, you can't really enjoy it, then separate the two, find a happy memory for your love language, and then enjoy your love language because that's the things that make you happy. Today's topic, world peace, starts with me. How do we create world peace? Is that even possible? Is this the right question even to ask? Where does peace come from? Peace comes from within. So then we manifest peace, right? Is peace our nature? Absolutely yes. So if the state of peace is our nature, then when we are not at peace, then we are not in our nature. That is the truth. So to get back to our nature, we have to do what? Do we have to stop creating anything other than peace? Do we fight anything that doesn't result in peace? Do we create a resistance to war for peace? No. If we don't have peace, or if we're not peaceful, then we're spending energy on that which creates that state of conflict. Conflict is an appropriate word because we may not be at war, but we're looking for one. Why would we look for a war when our nature is peace? That's a great question. We came to believe that a challenge is more exciting than love or peace, and learned to believe that peace is boring. We came to believe that even if this challenge or healthy competitiveness promises us more interesting life, because we came to believe that peace is boring. Even if this challenge or healthy competition leads to conflict, we justify this by the overall purpose that was worthy of the cause. how dangerously we walk to the line of war. But isn't that the power most tempters use to get us closer and closer to a line that eventually has us confused or distracted into stepping over that line and now following their agenda? This wasn't one clear decision to step over that line to participate in acts against our nature. They were small enticements, invitations, suggestions by someone destructive to distract and pivot us into the direction that goes against our very nature, which is peace. Often we're confused and even baffled how we got to this unnatural side. Nevertheless, now we are advocating for the opposite of peace. So how do we step back into our nature of peace, wherever we may be currently hanging our hat, so to speak? What are the action steps, the agenda to return to home, to return to peace? And how hard is this new journey in addition to everything else that we've got to do? So there's good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? I always like the bad news first. I'm going to start with the bad news, actually, because bad news allows us to determine the parameters within which we need to operate in order to make the shift to the place where we want to be. I want to say that one more time because I thought this was pretty powerful. Bad news allows us to determine the parameters within which we need to operate in order to make the shift to the place where we want to be. So the bad news is that we are spending energy every day to spend our time in challenges, competitions, and in conflicts. We actually expend an enormous amount of energy to stay in this space. So what's the good news? The good news is there's actually a very simple solution. Oh, I forgot. There's one more bit of bad news. The other bad news is that even though the solution is simple, because of the place we find ourselves in, we cannot distinguish that the solution is simple. In fact, in our eyes, the solution is extremely difficult. We actually don't have to do anything. By that, I mean to leave the realm of conflict and move to the realm of peace. All we have to do is discontinue spending energy to remain in the realm of conflict. Think about this for a second. People are always asking, how do you destroy peace? Do you destroy it with war? How do you destroy war? Do you create peace? It doesn't work like that, because no amount of war can ever create peace, and no amount of peace can ever create war. So they are not this thing that will give you the opposite of the other. When we create or cease all energy toward this, then we automatically return to the realm of peace. Simply put, ceasing that which you are not. And truth is always simple. You guys know I love to say that. Once we're back in the realm of peace, then we can protect ourselves from destructive people tempting us out of our nature and natural state of peace. Mind you, they simply tempted us. We chose to take the actions that led us to the unnatural states and realm of conflict. We willingly participated. We may have been coerced into doing one little bit at a time because we likely would not have stepped over that whole line. If somebody said, come on over here, step over this line, we likely wouldn't do that. By allowing us to be distracted, we don't notice the closer and closer we get to that line. Temptation, what is it? The great perception that is passed down from generation to generation that relationships must be equal. If they're not, well, then one of you is being taken advantage of. Your friends will tell you that. Your coworkers will tell you that. Example of a man who is determined to lead his family, who is constantly opposed by his IFP, temporarily causing him to doubt himself. And the man leads ahead, moving the relationship into a space where the disagreement is no longer relevant. Well, then the relationship is better for it. And even though his partner did not execute this the way she felt it should be, she's happy with the result. What did they learn here? One person has to lead the family. There can't be two leaders. There can't be two captains. If you want the man or masculine to lead, protect, and make the family thrive, then he needs to have the reins to do so. If the feminine repeatedly interferes because it was passed down to her or taught to her by her single girlfriends or coworkers that a committed relationship must be equal or she should leave. Mind you, I mentioned that these friends are single. There seems to be an abundantly growing number of women advising other women to leave their relationships, even though they cannot stay in one themselves. I'm unclear of this motive, whether they're alone and jealous when everyone else they know isn't alone also, or whatever. The truth is, no one should ever take advice on relationships from someone that doesn't have a healthy, unconditionally loving relationship. Otherwise, they can only teach you what they have: loneliness, regret, sadness, depression, and so on. Now, mind you, everyone that's single obviously doesn't have this, but I believe that these are some of the motives that some people have, and they don't want someone else to be happy either. They can't figure out how to be happy themselves, so they don't want anyone else to be happy either. Not a great friend. If you meet someone that is in the type of relationship you always wanted, or you want your current relationship to transform into, then these would be great candidates to give excellent advice to you. In my live stream training on I Am the Key, I discovered a recipe for peace. I hope you're listening because this is really powerful. I mentioned two of my coaching clients that met through Irresistible, which is my flagship coaching program, teaching you how to make yourself irresistible to your ideal forever partner, or IFP for short. I did an experiment with Paul and asked him to push against my hand and not to stop pushing. I pushed against his hand as well. You see, he and Mary were having fights and conflict, and we're trying to get past this disagreeable period in their relationship. They also asked me to share this with you guys in hope that it might help someone else as much as it impacted them. So Paul and I were pushing against one another like arm wrestling, except with palms and arms straight. Paul seemed to match my resistance in order to create some kind of balance, although I did not instruct him to do this. Mind you, Mary was not in this session because Paul came to concerned, wanting to move past this petty disagreement, period. Then I stopped pushing and lowered my hand. Paul quickly balanced the same and stopped pushing as well and separated from my hand. I asked Paul, I asked you to keep pushing no matter what. Why did you stop? He replied, because you stopped pushing. And then he said, oh wow. Breakthrough. He realized on his own that he only resisted while I did. This is huge. Once I stopped, he no longer found a reason to resist. This just described every relationship that has any kind of conflict. I want to read just these two lines again. Okay. This describes every relationship and a solution to any problem, that problem, any conflict in it. Paul realized on his own that he only resisted me while I did. Once I stopped resisting him, he no longer found a reason to resist himself. This is how conflicts continue in relationships. One partner resists and the other creates a counter resistance, so on and so on, escalating until one of you de-escalates or explodes. So I gave this test to Paul because I wanted him to get that. Now pay attention here. If he eliminated all of his resistance, then there would be no conflict. If he would let go of allowing whatever Mary did that annoyed him, they wouldn't have any more problems. That's just one person changing something in a relationship. And I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but if it can change the whole relationship, how many relationships would be worth saving? How many past relationships of yours would it have been worth saving if you just knew this one thing and were able to train yourself to do this? Does this mean that Paul is at fault for all of these things? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Paul is not at fault. And he can change everything and end the conflict by ending his own resistance. That's just him changing himself. He can change the entire relationship just by changing himself. It doesn't really matter who is at fault. If you're in a relationship that you want to be in, who cares who does more or less? Who cares? Who's counting? Who's keeping score? And why are you keeping score? This is not a contest. Nobody's going to get a better present or a trophy for having the most points. Who gave more or worked harder doesn't make a bit of difference when the end result is peace. It doesn't matter how you got there, does it? Ask yourself this question. Are you only willing to create peace in your relationship if both parties contribute exactly 50% of their share, or no deal? Well, that sounds like, right? Heck no. Who gives a crap? You have peace, and that's all that matters. How or what percent is irrelevant. So let me frame this in and underline it one more time. One person can end their resistance or allow what bothers them from the other person, and that changes the whole relationship. Absolutely. I know what you're thinking. Of course, if one partner always does all the work and the other doesn't, then that creates an imbalance in the relationship. And you're right. Eventually, it will, because the partner sacrificing grows emotionally and spiritually during this process. And if his IFP does not make any effort, then their growth falls behind, eventually creating a rift between them. This rift can eventually tear this couple apart, but only because the other partner isn't willing to contribute to the relationship. I'm sorry, if I found someone and I think they're my ideal forever partner, and I'm the only one that's working in the relationship to make it work, then I've got the wrong IFP. I want an IFP that's going to work as hard or harder than I am on our relationship, because that's what it's going to take to succeed. The way we do anything is the way we do everything. Eventually, the other partner becomes the person. Now, this is the partner that's not contributing. They become the person that always makes everyone else in the relationship do the contributing, which reduces the quality of their friends. And it's a spiral down. Again, one person can change everything. Can you imagine when both partners do their best? If one person is willing to do this, can you imagine when both are given 100% and are all in? That's the IFP we want to create in our life. The relationship will not only be unconditionally loving, but also extraordinary and epic. I don't know about you. I want my relationships to be epic and significant. Life is about making happy memories and creating memorable experiences while learning about our ultimate goal, learning about unconditional love and all other sorts of love. This is Arell Holloway signing off and reminding you that the greatest thing you will ever learn is to love and be loved in return. Are you ready to be the ideal forever partner that will attract your high-level IFP like a magnet? Find out how ready you are if your IFP was standing in front of you right now. Take the IFP Magnet Scorecard Quiz now. Answer this quick 16-question quiz that takes 3 minutes and will send you a personalized report plus complimentary PDF on how ready you are if your IFP was standing in front of you right now. Go to score.arell, A-R-E-L-L, .vision. That's score.arell.vision. Chat soon. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to the Ideal Forever Partner Magnet podcast. Your support helps us reach more souls in search of their unconditional true love. Check us out everywhere podcasts. Remember, you have the power to create heaven on earth through unconditional love. This is your life, no one else's. Grasp the courage to strive for the highest and best version of you